Hi, Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I wish to the teachers and my fellow friend. Today, our group want to present Ecology of Community, which is topic 45.1. Okay, before that, my name is Cik Azwaki bin Cik Brigani with the metric number AS11680. Okay, this is for learning outcome for this topic. Okay, before that, you should know what is the meaning of community. Community is a group or association of population of two or more different species at the same geographical area. At the same time, community also known as bioconiosis, another name for community. Okay. Community has two structures, which is species composition and species diversity. Okay, we go first for species composition. Okay, species composition, also called species richness, and the narrow-leaf evergreen tree are prominent in a coniferous forest, but broad-leaf evergreen tree are numerous in a tropical rainforest. Coniferous community and tropical rainforest community contain different type of mammal, different type of animal and plants. Not only are the species composition of these two communities different, but the tropical rainforest has more species and higher species. Okay, these are animal you can find in coniferous forest. For example, squirrel, moose, bear, snowshoes, redford, and wolf. And this example for tropical rain animal. We have kinkajou, monkey, jaguar, and cheetah, bats, and sloth. Okay, we proceed for to the next structure, which is species diversity. Okay, species diversity includes both species uniqueness and the relative abundance of the different species. Okay, it is a listing of species in community with relative abundance, and species diversity is the greater the species richness and more even the distribution, and also greater the species diversity. Okay, we continue to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. My name is Sarah Nani binti Ahmad Shafawi with the matrix number AS11677, and now I will be continuing with community interactions. Under the community interactions, we will be looking at two main ideas, which is the first one, habitat and ecological niche, and the second one is competition between populations. Okay, habitat and ecological niche. Each species, they occupy a particular position in the community, both in spatial sense, which is where it lives, and in functional sense, which is what role it plays in the community. Basically, spatial sense refers to the habitat and functional sense refers to the ecological niche. Habitat. What is habitat actually? A habitat is a particular place where a species lives and reproduce. And habitat can be the forest floor, the seashore, or even the stream where the species live. Next is the ecological niche. Ecological niche is the role a species plays in its community, which includes the methods that the species use to acquire the resources that they need to get energy, nutrient, and survival demands, which is the method that they use for them to survive in the community. A species niche is determined by two factors, abiotic and also biotic factors. Abiotic factors consist of climate and habitat, while biotic factors consist of competitors, parasites, and predators. Because of the species niche is determined by these two factors, ecologists like to distinguish between two niche, which is fundamental niche and also realized niche. Fundamental niche is a niche that comprises all abiotic conditions, and the species can survive when biotic conditions are absent, while realized niche is the set of conditions under which the species exists in nature with the presence of biotic interactions. As you can see in the picture below, okay, the left part of the picture, it shows us a species. Okay, this is a species called the thalamus. So this thalamus live on this rock, and they live from the low tide area until the high tide area. And all of this part is called the fundamental niche of this species. This is called the fundamental niche because there is where their this is called the fundamental niche because it consists of only one species. There are no competitors, there are no other species that can act as a competitor or a predator or parasite to the thalamus, so they can survive well with the absence of the biotic conditions. As you can see in the picture on the right, there is another species present called the semi-balinus species. So when there is another species present here, it acts as the competitor, meaning that the biotic interaction occurs, the biotic factor occurs, because there is a competitor. So when there is a competitor, the fundamental niche of the thalamus will become a realized niche because the thalamus species can still survive. They can still survive even with the presence of the biotic factor, even with the presence of competitor. But the part that they can survive is only here. So this is only the part where they can survive. This is the set of conditions under which the thalamus species can survive in the nature with the presence of a competitor, which is the semi-balinus species. And fundamental niche is always larger than the realized niche. Fundamental niche here refers to fundamental niche of thalamus species. So the fundamental niche of the thalamus is larger than the realized niche of the thalamus. Next, we look at the competitions between populations. Competition occurs when members of different species try to use a resource, such as light, space, or nutrients. And competition occurs only if the resource is in limited supply. If the resource is not in limited supply, there is no competition occur because the resource is enough for every species. So, which is why there are no competitions. Competitive exclusion principle states that there are no two species can indefinitely occupy the same niche at the same time. Okay, we will look at the example later. Okay, next is resource partitioning. Because of the competition that occur between two species, there is a way for them to minimize the competition. First is by resource partitioning. Resource partitioning is division of resources to decrease competition between species, and the resource partitioning leads to increase in niche specialization and less niche overlap. Okay, now we look at the competitive exclusion principle. Okay, as we can see here, there are two paramecium species, Aurelia and also Quadratum. Okay, in this graph here, Paramecium Aurelia, they are grown separately, and Paramecium Quadratum are grown separately here. Okay, they grow well. Both of them grow well when they are grown separately. They survive well. But when both of them are grown together, there will be a competition between them to get the same resources, which is why, as we know in a competition, one will win and one will lose. So in here, one species will survive and one species will extinct. So as we can see here, the Quadratum extinct and the Aurelia survive. Next, we look at the example of resource partitioning.
Example of a concept in ecology known as resource partitioning. Despite their physical similarities, different woodpecker species are able to coexist in a forest without competing for the same food. We can understand how different woodpecker species could have a variety of diets by looking closely at their tongues, which do all of the food gathering business. The tip of the pileated woodpecker's tongue is outfitted with tiny spikes which snag insects. The tongue of a sapsucker, another kind of woodpecker, is packed with brush-like fibers that mop up tree sap. The idea of resource partitioning becomes really interesting in areas of the world where there are no woodpeckers.
Next, we will look at the character displacement. What is character displacement? Character displacement is tendency for characteristics to be more divergent when population belongs to same community than when they are isolated. Character displacement is often used as evidence that competition and resource partitioning have taken place. So let us look further in the resource partitioning part. Character displacement is the evidence of the presence. Character displacement is basically the evidence for the presence of resource partitioning. As we can look at the picture here, this picture consists of 5 different species of warblers, and they occur in North America forests, and they are all nearly the same size, and they all feed on a type of spruce tree caterpillar. Okay, this is one tree. This is the same tree. All of this is the same tree, and this is the 5 species, different species of warblers. Because of these 5 species of warblers, they have to live in the same community. They will have to minimize the competition, the direct competition between each other for all of them to survive. So, okay, as we can see here, let's look one by one. This is the first species, the Cape May warbler. This Cape May warbler, they will get food on the tree at this part of the tree. Okay, as you can see in the green shaded area, okay, this is only the part where the Cape May warbler get their food. This is the only part. The second species, bay-breasted warbler. Bay-breasted warbler, they get their food in the middle part. This is where they get their food. Myrtle warbler, they get their food at the bottom part of the tree. The Blackburnian warbler, they get their food at the left side of the tree. The black-throated green warbler, they get their food at the sides of the tree. So because of these different species of warblers, they get their food from different parts of the trees. As you can see at the top, at the bottom, at the sides, at the middle. So which is why they can survive, because other species cannot get food from the parts of other species. So that is resource partitioning actually. Next, we look at the picture on the right here. This picture is the character displacement in finches on the Galapagos Island. As we can see here, they're all the same. This is they're all finches. But what is the difference actually between these 3? The difference here is their beak. This species, which is called Gospiza fuliginosa, they have small beak. This species, which is called Gospiza fortis, they have medium depth of beak. And this species, which is called Gospiza magnirostrus, they have large depth of beak. Let's say when they live on separate island. Okay, let's see here. On Abingdon, Bindlow, James, and also Jervis Island, all 3 species exist. On Daphne Island, only the Fortis species exists. And on the Crossman Island, only the Fuliginosa exists. Meaning that when they exist in different islands, they can survive well because there are no competition between other species. But what if they live on the same island? They live on the same island, meaning that they have to survive with the presence of other species. There will be a competition that occurs. But How can they manage? How can they survive together? How can these three survive together without competition? By minimizing the competition with each other. They have different size of beaks. So each size of beak feeds on a particular size of seeds. Okay, as for the small beak size of finches, they feed on small size of seeds. For the medium big depth of finches, they feed on medium size of seeds. And for the large big depth of finches, they feed on larger size of seeds. Okay, that is how they survive together in the same community. That is how they avoid from being extinct. So that is also resource partitioning. So which is why character displacement is actually the evidence that competition and also resource partitioning have taken place in that community. For the finches, if they live, the difference between them is that when they live alone, when they are the only species on that island, their beaks tend to be the same intermediate size, where they are enabled to feed on a wider range of seeds. But when they live together on the same in the same community on the same island, their beaks tend to be according to these sizes: small, medium, and large. So they have to feed on a smaller range of seed sizes, which is why they feed on different size of seeds because of the different size of beaks. That is all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Nuri Shazwa binti Saluddin. So I will be continue to present about predator, prey, and interactions. Predation occurs when one living organism called a predator feeds on another called prey. Parasitism also can be considered as type of predation because one individual obtains nutrient from another. Parasitoids are organisms that lay their eggs inside a host. Then, the developing larvae feeds on the host and sometimes cause the host to die. Predators play a role in determining the population density of prey. In nature, we can find a similar example, which is cactus and moth in Australia. When a gardener introduced cactus to Australia from South America, the cactus spread out of control until millions of acres were covered with nothing but cactus. The cactus were brought under control when a moth from South America was introduced. The caterpillar then efficiently reduced the cactus population. Now, both cactus and moth are found at greatly reduced density in Australia. Because of this, it has raised an interesting point, which is the population density of the predator can be affected by the population density of the prey. An increase in predator population size is dependent on an increase in prey population size, which means if there is an increase in predator population, so there will be an increase also in prey population. A decrease in population size can be depend on these two possible accounts, which is the first possibility is the reproductive rate of the predator is so great that it increased numbers of assumed prey, and then the prey population declines. The next is the biotic potential of the predator is unable to keep pace with the prey. Then the prey population overshoots the carrying capacity and suffers a crash. So next we have prey defense. Prey defense is a mechanism that thwarts the possibility of being eaten by a predator. Prey species have evolved a variety of mechanisms that enables them to avoid predators. In this chapter, we emphasize on these three common anti-predator defense: camouflage, warning colorization, and fright. So one common strategy to avoid capture by a predator is by camouflage, or the ability to blend into the background, which helps the prey avoids being detected by the predator. Some animals have a cryptic coloration that blends them into the surrounding. As we can see from this octopus, it changes its color to blend with the coral reef. Another example of protective camouflage is a walking sticks that look like a twig. This is actually some types of insects. So next we have warning colorization. This is to tell the predator that prey is potentially dangerous. From the picture, it is a poison arrow frogs that shows a bright color. These frogs may contain some poison that can affect the predator. As many animals, including caterpillars, moths, and fishes, possesses false eye spot that confuse or startle other animals. Other animals have an elaborate structure that can cause startle response. For example, in this picture, this is a South American lanternfly. It has a false head and an eye here. This is actually part of its body. This is to scare the predators that make it resembles the head of an alligator. However, anti-predator defense are not always false. A porcupine certainly looks formidable, and for a good reason. Its arrow-like quills have barbs that digs into the predator's flesh and penetrates even deeper as the enemy struggles after being impaled. Another common strategy that may help avoid capture is by sticking together as a protection against predators. Like for example, in this school of fish and a herds of mammal. So next we have mimicry. Mimicry is the resemblance of one species to another that possesses an overt anti-predator defense. There are two types of mimicry, which is a Batesian mimicry and a Mullerian mimicry. A Batesian mimic is a mimic that lacks the defense of the organism, while a Mullerian mimic is a mimic that shares the same protective defense. As we can see from this picture, firefly and a longhorn beetle is a Batesian mimic because they are incapable of stinging other animals, but they have the same appearance as a yellow jacket wasp. A yellow jacket wasp and a bumblebee is a Mullerian mimic because they both use stinging as a defense. The difference between these two mimics is that a Mullerian mimic can shares the same protective defense and have the same appearance. Meanwhile, for Batesian mimic, they only have the same appearance, but they lack defense of organism. I think that's all from me. We can continue with Iza.
Thanks, Shazwa. I'm Nuri Iza binti Ahmad Yusri, number metric AS11655, and I will explain about this subtopic, which is symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship have three types. First is a parasitism, second is commensalism, and lastly is mutualism. Next, I will explain about parasitism. Parasitism generally defined as a relationship between the two living species in which one organism is benefited at the expense of the other. The organism that is benefited is called the parasite, while the one that is harmed is called the host. As you can see on this figure, the mosquito will get some blood from the human. So the human will get some disease such as dengue. So the mosquito we call as parasite, while the human will one that is harmed called as the host. Next, type of parasite. Parasite have two types. First is ectoparasite. Ectoparasite means the parasite that live outside the body of the host. For example, ticks and headlice. Second type is endoparasite. Endoparasite is a parasite that lives inside the body of a host, for example, hookworm and nematodes. On this slide, I will give some example parasite. First example parasite in human. As you can see on this figure, tapeworm will live inside the human body and cause several infection diseases such as malnutrition. Second example parasite in insect. The parasite will attack the larva and young insect. They will deposit their egg with body of the larva. When the egg hatch, the young one will eat the larva and derive nutrition from its larva. Next is commensalism. Commensalism is symbiotic relationship between two species in which one species benefited and the other neither benefited or harmed. Usually, host must be a larger animal, while a commensal must be a smaller animal. The commensal may obtain nutrients, shelter, support, or locomotion from the host species which is unaffected. As you can see on this figure, this is example of commensalism, which is remora and shark. The remora fish will get some free ride and some food from the shark, while shark will get nothing from the remora. And lastly is mutualism. Mutualism is interaction between organisms of two different species in which each organism get benefit from the interaction in some way. Mutualism may involve either the exchange of resources such as nutrition, shelter, and food, or there may exchange of service like protection and transportation. And on this slide, I will give some example of mutualistic relationship. First is cleaning mutualism or cleaning symbiosis. Cleaning mutualism is a mutually beneficial association between individuals of two species where one the cleaner remove or eat parasite and the other material from the surface of the other animal. As you can see on this figure, the large fish will line up at the cleaning station and wait their turn to be cleaned by a small fish. Then the small fish will enter the mouth of the larger fish in order to clean their mouth and gills. So this is example about cleaning mutualism. And lastly is pollination. Pollination also is example of mutualistic relationship. So I will explain about this pollination. First, the bee will fly from flower to flower to gather a nectar. When they land in a flower, at the same time, the bee also gets some pollen on their hair body. Then, when they land another flower, some of the pollen from the first one will rub off. Then the flower plant will get reproduced. That's all from us.